Good evening, traders. Zach here from the Trading Network. I hope you guys are doing well. It is Sunday evening, and it is time for another weekly market profile forecast for both the ES and NQ futures markets. We are going to go ahead and dive into NQ first and foremost. We'll start off with a little bit of session profile analysis, just a quick breakdown of what I'm looking at most immediately moving into tomorrow's session, and then we will pop over onto the weekly, and we will do the same with ES. So what I am looking at this evening in regards to some high probability areas for reaction or line in the sand levels moving forward is going to be, most importantly, Friday's high. Friday's high is 11,961 and a quarter. And you can see that we have a naked POC from Thursday, the 15th of September at 12,027.50. Now, as you guys can imagine, especially if you've been watching my market profile forecast, you will know that if we get acceptance above a prior high, then we are very likely to move up into some major levels above that. In this case, we have this naked POC that is a perfect area for us to move up and revisit, and then we have some levels that we are likely going to test subsequently if we can move and hold that prior high at 11,960 and then tap that naked POC. If we do move and hold above that POC, look at this 12,080 area here. You can see we've got a lot of levels stacking up. We have the regular trading hours low from September 13th. We have the overnight low from the 13th into 14th. We also have the low from the 14th regular trading hour session at 12,092. So I do think that that's a pretty strong area that if we can get some acceptance above, we are likely to get back to Thursday's value area high and above value from Thursday, which would be above 12,110. Now, if we cannot get acceptance above Friday's high at 11,961, then we are very likely going to move back into value from Friday, which would be first and foremost a test of 11,883. And you can see that we have the current overnight low stacking up there at 11,881 as well. So if we break that 11,880 area, look for a move down to 11,846. A move down to 11,825 if 846 cannot hold. And if we cannot hold 825 as support, then we are very likely to move down and retest those lows in the value area low from Friday. So that would be a move to this little range here between 11,793 and 11,778. So that is what I am thinking most immediately on the session profile. Let's go ahead and get more of a bird's eye view on the weekly profile, starting with where we are in relation to last week's profile. We are indeed operating within value from last week, but we are below the lows from the last several weeks, as you guys can see. Now, if we cannot move and hold back above some of these prior lows, specifically I'm looking at 12,000. 12,006 is the weekly regular trading hours low from the week of September 5th. So I'd be looking for a move to test that level, and if we can hold above it, then very likely back up for a test of last week's point of control at 12,218 and the value area high from last week's regular trading hours weekly session at 12,268. Now you can also see that we have the monthly volume point of control here, right around 12,140. So that's going to be an interesting and important level to watch for reaction at and watch to see if we can get acceptance above as well. If we can get acceptance above this area, we could even draw a range here between, it's going to be a larger range because it's on the weekly, but between the prior week's low, not last week's low, which is 11,778, but the week before that at 12,006, we can move back into this range and work above that volume point of control, then that's going to significantly increase the probability of us visiting this 12,268 level right there. So what I am going to be looking at as far as downside, if we cannot move and hold above that 12,000 level, which is obviously a major psychological level, but more importantly, it's a major level as we have a weekly low stacking up in that area from recent price action. So if we can't get back above 12K, look for, of course, a retest of last week's low at 11,778. And if we can't hold that, then I'm really looking at these prior lows, specifically 11,587. And that is the weekly low from the July 11th weekly profile there. If we can't hold that, then we've got some lower levels here. We've got some good confluence, I will say, for a move down to 11.4, 11.460, somewhere in that range. So the bulls are really kind of on their last line of defense before we see an even further move down from last week's low, in my opinion. It's really, really going to be important that we hold this level, and even more importantly, that we get back above 12K and hold it to increase the probability or decrease the probability of us going to see these lower levels here. So once again, on the upside, if we can move and hold above 12K, then I'd be looking for a test of that volume POC right at about 11,130-ish, then a move into last week's value area high, 268, and then very likely a little bit higher in this area where you can see we have stacking POCs from 2 weekly profiles between 11,341 and 11,384. So, of course, we have higher levels than that, but, we got some work to do to get back above that prior low and hold it. It's going to be important to watch reaction there to see if buyers do see that as a fair price and show us acceptance. Now, we can go ahead and move over into the ES session profiles first and foremost. As always, pretty darn similar to NQ. What I'm going to be looking at is the prior highs from our last regular trading hours session on the 16th. That was Friday. And the highs on ES that I'm looking at are 39.0350. You can see that we've got great confluence here as well between these prior. We have the current overnight high, 38.99. We've got Friday's high at 39.03, and then we have the overnight session high from the 15th into 16th at 38.9975. So that is going to be a very important level to move and hold above. And you can see that technically we do still have a gap. Now it's very small. You could consider it closed, but we technically have not touched that prior low at 39.05, and we can go back and look at the same situation on NQ, except NQ has closed that gap, okay? So it could be argued, I think there is a fair case to say that we still have an open gap, and of course, we have an open gap from this area as well. Let me show you guys, all the way up here at 41.03. So we've got a long way to go, of course, to get back up there. But I want to make it clear that we actually have this gap sitting on NQ as well. So the gap is from the low of the September 12th session, 12/7/19, to where we currently are. You can see that we opened with a gap down on that next day on the 13th of September, and we have continued to move to the downside, and we have never closed this regular trading hours gap. So the closest we've got, of course, is 12.508, but from where we are right now, we're looking at a giant gap, okay, almost 1,000 points. So this is going to take some work, and as we know, if you guys are familiar with market profile, larger gaps take much longer to fill, and it's going to be very interesting to see if we can move up and fill those gaps this week, or at the very least, start to work on those gaps by tapping these naked pointed controls. So keep that in mind that we do still have a much wider gap from the lows of September 12th, both on NQ and ES, which I just showed here. And then you can see 41.03 is the low, and we will need to move up quite a bit in order to close that larger gap there. So a lot of work to do before we get there. So first and foremost, I am looking at these prior highs here. Call it 3900, 3905. We can draw a nice little zone there, and we do have this 3905 gap to close, which I think is very likely that we see it get tapped in tomorrow's regular trading hour session. Now, if we can move and hold above those levels, look for that move into that first naked POC from September 15th. That was last Thursday. If we get acceptance above that, then you guys know the deal. Very likely retesting value area high and these prior highs. Look at this confluence here. You can see that we have highs from 1, 2, 3, 4 sessions, all within 2 points of each other or 3 points of each other. And that is going to just tell me that there is very likely a lot of liquidity sitting in that area. If we can get there, we're likely to see a reaction, whether that is a push through and a trigger of, short stop losses into this naked POC, or a rejection for a move down to back down to value area high, and our prior POC, that remains to be seen. But just some trade ideas and some things to get your mind going as far as what to look for if and when we do get to these levels. So on the downside, it's going to be mostly weekly analysis. As you can see, we haven't been down here in quite a while. So if we cannot move and hold above these prior highs, we will pop on over to the weekly and we will see what we got. So last week's low, 38.53 even. If we cannot hold 38.53 even, very likely a move into the July 18th weekly low, 38.38. And then I'm going to be looking at this value area low from the week of July 11th. We were looking at this same profile on NQ as well for some major levels to look forward or look towards to the downside if we can't get acceptance. So these would be the three major levels that I'm looking at to the downside, and we might get some reaction at these prior weekly profile levels, but I'm looking at most recent and closest to where price action would be, and that's going to be these guys here. So keep an eye out, mark these off on your chart, and if we get there, watch for some reaction. Now, on the upside, if we do move and hold back above, not last week's low is, definitely important to move and hold above, but more importantly, I think that we need to get back above that 39 level, which is lining up with these prior highs, just to point out real quick. And if we get above that 3900, 3905 level, I think it's very likely we get a move back into the volume point of control, 3947. You can see that we have last week's point of control at 3968, which is a likely area that we move into if we do hold above, call it 3950-ish. And then, of course, a test of right around 4,000, which is last week's value area high. So again, it's important to watch reaction at these levels to see what happens when we get close to these levels, okay? Don't jump the gun and automatically take trades without asking yourself, who is in control? Do we have acceptance above these levels, or are we getting rejected when we test these levels? If you can answer those questions calmly and honestly with yourself, you're very likely to have high probability trade opportunity. So I just want to quickly pop over here to the candle chart to show you guys what kind of high probability trade opportunity you might be able to find at these market profile levels, and why I use these profile levels every single day. Now I have a bit more of a stripped down chart here, as I am doing some R&D with some new indicators that we will be releasing soon. You can see here that we have these market profile levels plotted on the right side of our chart. These are automatically plotted with our new indicator called the TTN profile plots. It is not available yet, but when it is available, you will be able to purchase this indicator, drop it on your chart, and you will see all of your market profile levels automatically populate every single day with dates and labels and color correspondence. So just as a quick example here, you can see we have a nice little move, a nice little break and retest here. We have the value area high from September 16th. Price moves above that, retests that as support right there. Really decent opportunity as a support resistance flip. But what I'm going to point out here is price just moving up to this overnight high and regular trading hours low from the September 15th session. We've got divergence on our Z cubed indicator. We've got divergence on the BBWP. And this is another indicator that I am doing some research with that may be added to the indicator package sooner than later. This is a volatility indicator, and it can be very, very helpful to just increase your edge that much further with some other indicators like momentum oscillators and market profile levels. So without rambling too much, you can see that we have just excellent reaction in general at these market profile levels. You can look for divergence. You can utilize oscillators. If you have the TTN indicator package, you can certainly throw on Z cubed and the RSX, some fib pivots like we have here, S1. So we've got three major levels, two profile levels, and a fib pivot. We've got bearish divergence. We've got a local top here with candlestick structure, and just one example of a very, very high probability trade opportunity that's basically level to level. Price rejects these market profile levels, moves right back down to the overnight point of control from September 15th. You can see price, just like it did over here, breaks the overnight POC, comes back, retests it, and rejects it for another level to level move back down to the value area high on September 16th. So I could pull up examples like this all day, every day, and that's how amazing these market profile levels can provide you high probability trade opportunity, especially if you're using some other tools to give you confidence and confluence on direction and momentum and things of that nature. So let's go on over to the market profile once again. We will go ahead and wrap up. I'll just do a quick recap for ES. Major line in the sand level is really 3,900, 3,904 for me. If we can't get above that, then I'm looking for a move back down into last week's low, 38.38, 37.96, and 37.41. As far as the NQ weekly goes, very similar situation where I'm looking for acceptance above that 12,000 level. If we cannot get acceptance above 12K, then a retest of last week's low at 11,778 is very likely. And then further downside increases significantly, or the probability for further downside increases significantly, down to 11,587, which is the weekly low from July 11th, the weekly low from the July 4th weekly profile, and we have these other weekly lows at 11,427 and 11,409 lining up here as well. So it remains to be seen whether the bears continue to hold the ball in their courts or whether some buyers can step in and we can get acceptance back above some of these major levels to work on some of these session naked POCs. So keep these naked POCs in mind, 3942 and 4003 on ES, and 12,027 on NQ, and 12,292 as well. And those will be some levels of interest if we can get acceptance above prior highs. With that said, if you guys have any questions, as always, please feel free to drop them down below in the comments. If you do enjoy this content, I would greatly appreciate if you would like and subscribe to the channel. It means a lot to me, and once again, I do greatly appreciate it. If you guys would like to learn more about the Trading Network Proprietary Indicator Package or the Discord access or the Fundamentals of Futures Trading course, please check out the tradingnetwork.io where you can purchase all of those. And we are also offering a bundle with the indicators, the Discord access, and the Fundamentals of Futures Trading course, all for a payment plan as well to make it easier on the wallet if you guys are interested. So again, I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this content as always, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Trade safe this week.